Okay, everyone. We will now watch the address to the nation by Honorable President of India on the eve of Independence Day. This will be followed by address of Ambassador to the members of Indian community and friends of India on the occasion of Independence Day.
My dear fellow citizens, Namaskar. It gives me great pleasure to greet all the people of India living in the country and abroad on the eve of the 74th Independence Day. August 15 fills us with the excitement of unfurling the tricolor, taking part in celebrations and listening to patriotic songs. On this day, the youth of India should feel the special pride of being citizens of a free nation. We gratefully remember our freedom fighters and martyrs whose sacrifices have enabled us to live in an independent nation. The ethos of our freedom struggle forms the foundation of modern India. Our visionary leaders brought together a diversity of worldviews to forge a common national spirit. They were committed to the cause of liberating Bharat Mata from oppressive foreign rule and securing the future of our children. Their thoughts and actions shaped the identity of India as a modern nation. We are fortunate that Mahatma Gandhi became the guiding light of our freedom movement. As much a saint as a political leader, he was a phenomenon that could have happened only in India. Troubled by social strife, economic problems, and climate change, the world seeks relief in Gandhiji's teachings. His quest for equality and justice is the mantra for our republic. I am glad to see the younger generations rediscover Gandhiji. Dear fellow citizens, the celebrations of Independence Day this year will be rather restrained. The reason is obvious. The whole world confronts a deadly virus which has disrupted all activities and taken a huge toll. It has altered the world we lived in before the pandemic. It is very reassuring to note that the central government, while anticipating the tremendous challenge, responded effectively and well in time. For a country so vast and diverse with high population density, meeting this challenge requires superhuman efforts. All state governments took measures in accordance with local circumstances. People also supported wholeheartedly. With our committed efforts, we have succeeded in containing the magnitude of the pandemic and saving a large number of lives. This is worth emulating by the wider world. The nation is indebted to doctors, nurses, and other health workers who have been continuously on the forefront of our fight against this virus. Unfortunately, many of them have lost their lives battling the pandemic. They are our national heroes. All corona warriors deserve high praise. They go much beyond their call of duty to save lives and ensure essential services. These doctors, health workers, members of disaster management teams, police personnel, sanitation workers, delivery staff, transportation, railway and aviation personnel, providers of various services, government employees, social service organizations, and generous citizens have been scripting inspiring stories of courage and selfless service. When cities and towns go quiet and roads are deserted, they work tirelessly to ensure that people are not deprived of health care and relief, water and electricity, transport and communication facilities, milk and vegetables, food and groceries, medicine and other essentials. They risk their own lives to save our life and livelihood. Amid this crisis, Cyclone Amphan hit us in West Bengal and Odisha. Concerted response of disaster management teams, central and state agencies, and alert citizens helped minimize loss of life. Floods have been disrupting lives of our people in the northeast and eastern states. Amid such onslaughts of disasters, it is gratifying to see all sections of society coming together to help those in distress. Dear fellow citizens, the poor and daily wage earners are the worst hit by the pandemic. In order to support them through this phase of crisis, virus containment efforts have been supplemented by welfare interventions. By introducing Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana, the government has enabled crores of people to earn their livelihood and mitigate the impact of job loss, dislocation, and disruption caused by the pandemic. The government continues to extend its helping hand through a number of initiatives supported wholeheartedly by the corporate sector, civil society, and citizens. The needy are being given free food grains so that no family goes hungry. The largest free food distribution program in the world has been extended till the end of November 2020 to provide succor to about 80 crore people every month. In order to ensure that migratory ration card holders get ration anywhere in the country, all states are being brought under the coverage of One Nation, One Ration Card scheme. Committed to taking care of our people stranded anywhere in the world, the government has brought back more than 10 lakh Indians under the Vande Bharat mission. Indian Railways has been operating train services in these challenging circumstances to facilitate travel and transportation of people and goods. Confident of our strengths, we reached out to help other countries in their fight against COVID-19. In responding to calls from countries for supply of medicines, India has once again shown that it stands by the global community in times of distress. We have been at the forefront in evolving regional and global strategies for an effective response to the pandemic. The overwhelming support India got at the elections for the non-permanent seat of the United Nations Security Council is a testimony to the goodwill we enjoy internationally. It has been the tradition of India that we do not just live for ourselves, but work for the well-being of the entire world. India's self-reliance means being self-sufficient without alienating or creating distance from the world. It implies that India will continue to engage with the world economy while maintaining its identity. Dear fellow citizens, the world now realizes what our sages had said long ago. The global community is but one family, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. However, even while the world community needs to fight together against the greatest challenge before humanity, some in our neighborhood tried to carry out their misadventure of expansion. Our brave soldiers laid down their lives defending our borders. Those worthy sons of Bharat Mata lived and died for national pride. The entire nation salutes the martyrs of Galwan Valley. Every Indian feels grateful to their family members. Their bravery in combat has demonstrated that while we believe in peace, we are also capable of giving a befitting response to any attempt of aggression. We are proud of the members of our armed forces, paramilitary forces, and police personnel who protect the borders and ensure our internal security. I believe that in the fight against COVID-19, life and livelihood both are essential. We have looked at the current crisis as an opportunity to initiate reforms to revitalize the economy for the benefit of all, especially farmers and small entrepreneurs. Landmark reforms have been introduced in agriculture sector. Now farmers can have barrier-free trade and get the best price for their produce anywhere in the country. The Essential Commodities Act has been amended to remove certain regulatory restrictions on farmers. This will help raise farmers' income. Dear fellow citizens, we have learned some tough lessons in the year 2020. The invisible virus has demolished the illusion that human being is the master of nature. I believe it is still not too late for humanity to correct its course and live in harmony with nature. The pandemic, like climate change, has awakened the global community to our shared destiny. In my view, human-centric collaboration is more important than economy-centric inclusion in the present context. The greater this change, the better it will be for the humanity. The 21st century should be remembered as the century when humanity put aside differences and collaborated to save the planet. The second lesson is that we are all equal before Mother Nature and we primarily depend on our fellow residents for survival and growth. Coronavirus does not recognize any artificial divisions created by human society. This reinforces the belief that we need to rise above all man-made differences, prejudices, and barriers. Compassion and mutual help have been adopted as basic values by the people in India. We need to further strengthen this virtue in our conduct. Only then can we create a better future for all of us. The third lesson is about augmenting health infrastructure. Public hospitals and laboratories have been leading the fight against COVID-19. Public health services have helped the poor cope with the pandemic. In view of this, public health infrastructure needs to be expanded and strengthened. The fourth lesson relates to science and technology. The pandemic has highlighted the need to accelerate developments in science and technology. During the lockdown and subsequent unlocking, information and communication technology has emerged as an effective tool for governance, education, business, office work, and social connect. It has helped meet the twin objectives of saving lives and resumption of activities. Offices of the Government of India and of the state governments have been extensively using virtual interface to discharge their functions. The judiciary has been conducting virtual court proceedings to deliver justice. In Rashtrapati Bhavan also, we have used technology to conduct virtual conferences and carry out many activities. IT and communication tools have promoted e-learning and distance education. Work from home has become the norm in many sectors. Technology has enabled certain establishments in government and private sectors to work overtime to keep the wheels of the economy running. Thus, we have learnt the lesson that adoption of science and technology in harmony with nature will help sustain our survival and growth. These lessons will prove useful to humanity. The younger generation has learnt the lessons well, and I believe that the future of India is safe in their hands. These are difficult times for all of us, more so for our youth. The closure of our educational institutions would have caused anxiety among our girls and boys, casting a shadow over their dreams and aspirations for the time being. However, I would like them to remember that these difficult times won't last, and they should not give up working for their dreams. The past is full of inspiring examples of exciting reconstruction of societies, economies, and countries after such devastations. I am sure that our country and youth have a bright future. With a view to providing futuristic education to our children and youth, the central government has decided to implement the National Education Policy. I am confident that with the implementation of this policy, a new quality education system will be developed, and this will transform the future challenges into opportunities, paving the way for a new India. Our youth will be able to freely choose their subjects according to their interests and talents. They would have an opportunity to realize their potential. Our future generations will not only be able to get employment on the strength of such abilities, but will also create employment opportunities for others. The National Education Policy spells a long-term vision with far-reaching impact. It will strengthen the culture of inclusion, innovation, and institution in the sphere of education. Imparting education in the mother tongue has been given emphasis in order to help young minds grow spontaneously. This will strengthen Indian languages as well as the unity of the country. Youth empowerment is essential for building a strong nation. The National Education Policy is a right step in this direction. My dear fellow citizens, only 10 days ago, construction of the temple at Sri Ram Janmabhoomi began in Ayodhya. It was indeed a moment of pride for all. People of the country maintained restraint and patience for a long time and reposed unflinching trust in the judicial system. The issue of Ram Janmabhoomi was resolved through judicial process. All concerned parties and the people respectfully accepted the verdict of the Supreme Court and displayed before the world Indian ethos of peace, non-violence, love and harmony. I congratulate all fellow citizens for their commendable conduct. Dear fellow citizens, when India won freedom, many predicted that our experiment with democracy will not last long. They saw our ancient traditions and rich diversity as hurdles in democratization of our polity. But we have always nurtured them as our strengths that make the largest democracy in the world so vibrant. India has to continue playing its leading role for the betterment of humanity. The patience and wisdom being demonstrated by all of you in coping with the pandemic has been appreciated all over the world. I am confident that you will continue to maintain caution and act responsibly. We have a lot to offer to the global community, especially for intellectual and spiritual enrichment and promotion of world peace. With this spirit, I offer a prayer for the well-being of one and all. Sarve bhavantu sukhina, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pasyantu, ma kasyit dukbhag bhavet. It means, may all be happy, may all be free from illness, may all see what is auspicious, may no one come to grief. The message of this prayer for universal well-being is India's unique gift to humanity. I once again congratulate you on the eve of 74th Independence Day. I wish you good health and a bright future. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Dear members of Indian community, friends of India in Peru and Bolivia, Namaste and good morning. On the occasion of 74th Independence Day of India, I extend warm greetings and wish you Happy Independence Day. We just heard Honorable President of India's address to the nation. As the world confronts a deadly virus, celebrations this year are somewhat restrained. Rashtrapati ji reminded us about 4 tough lessons that we learned during this pandemic. These are: human-centric collaboration is more important than economy-centric inclusion. All people are equal and interdependent. Health infrastructure needs to be augmented, and developments in science and technology needed to be accelerated. At a time when the world community needs to fight together against the greatest challenge before humanity, some in our neighborhood try to carry out their misadventure of expansion. Our brave soldiers laid down their lives defending our borders. The entire nation salutes the martyrs of Galwan Valley. The swift and timely measures taken have contributed to saving many lives and their livelihood during the pandemic. India expanded isolation centers, COVID special hospitals, as well as testing, tracing, and tracking network at a very fast pace. Today, India has more than 11,000 COVID facilities, around 1,300 labs, and more than 1.1 million isolation beds. In 6 months, India became the world's second largest personal protection equipment kit manufacturer. The pandemic has once again shown that India's pharma industry is an asset not just for India but for the entire world. Over 1 million Indians have returned under the Vande Bharat mission so far. In India, the proactive measures taken to deal with the outbreak has resulted in high recovery and low fatality. India gifted critical medicines and protective gears to Peru and Bolivia as an expression of support and solidarity at this critical time. To deal with the economic challenges posed by the pandemic and bring our economy back on track, Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi unveiled forward-looking economic approach under the rubric of Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. The stimulus package of $270 million aims to both reinvigorate the economy and provide a social safety net to our vulnerable sections. Atmanirbhar Bharat is about being self-sustaining and self-generating and making India the global nerve center of multinational supply chains. India has been sharing its developmental experiences, and technical expertise with other countries in the spirit of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Government of India's approach to development partnership, which has been shaped by India's struggle for independence and solidarity with other colonized and developing countries. It is mainly human-centric and is marked by respect, diversity, care for the future, and sustainable development. Indian model of developmental cooperation is comprehensive and involves multiple instruments including grant in aid, line of credit, and capacity building, as well as technical assistance. More than 300 lines of credit worth $30.66 billion have been extended to 64 countries. A number of grant in aid projects aggregating around $4 billion are under implementation. Capacity building support to 160 countries under the Indian Technical and Economic Cooperation Program, and humanitarian assistance, disaster relief support to several countries. India has extended COVID-related medical assistance, including testing kits, protective gear, and medicines to more than 100 countries across the globe. India firmly believes that the path to achieve sustainable peace and prosperity is through multilateralism. India has been elected to the United Nations Security Council at this very important time for a 2-year term beginning in January 2021. Friends, Government of India unveiled National Education Policy which focuses on skills needed for the 21st century India. It makes how to think as its main focus. The global leading universities can now establish campuses in India, and we look forward to improved conditions for the Indian diaspora to send their children to study in India. On the economic front, the bilateral engagement with Peru and Bolivia has been growing. The Indian industry's interest in these countries has not dampened by the COVID pandemic. The interaction with their counterparts is continuing through multiple online platforms, and we are making all efforts to take forward the business and economic cooperation to a new level, matching with the potential. Similarly, on cultural fronts, we have been interacting through online media, both Indian culture, dance, music, yoga, Ayurveda, and many other art forms, and people are participating with great enthusiasm. We would like to continue with this cooperation, and we would like Indian community to involve in propagating our relationship. On the consular front, many innovative methods have been undertaken to improve the service delivery. With these words, I would like to once again thank you for taking part in these celebrations and wish you happy Independence Day. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador, for your inspiring remarks. Thank you, everybody.